And welcome to this very special broadcast. This is a special DD dialogue where we are discussing, or we are going to discuss, the impact of budget on IT sector. We are here in Hyderabad, and we bring you a special panelist from the IT sector. They are the masters of their own areas, own expertise, and we will benefit tremendously with the question and answer session with our audience also. So it's a open and interactive forum where we are going to put relevant questions on behalf of all of you to our esteemed panelists, and I welcome all the panelists. Mr. Gaurav Agrawal, who is sitting next left to me. He is the CFO of NTT Data Business Solutions, present in many developed nations. He is the man who has actually built up his own company 50x in just 8 years. We will try to know the secret of his success and how this can be translated into, other enterprises. Next to him is the Professor Abhishek Kathuria. He is the professor for IT and communications at very famous Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. Thank you very much, sir, for coming and interacting with the audience. Next with me is the Chief Innovation Officer of Tata Consultancy Services, TCS, the company which is known for its excellence in IT software, and we are very privileged to have you, sir, as a Chief Innovation Officer, because it is the innovation which is going to be the key for the next, next phase of India's growth. Thanks very much. And we have Dr. Krishna Nagarajan, who is CEO of Couch IT. Thank you very much, sir, because you have been an entrepreneur through these years, and we'll understand from your own experience what are the challenges and what are the new things that is happening in the field of startup ecosystem, and also the MSMEs, which is the big focus of this year's budget. Thanks very much, and I welcome all the audience, a very, very terrific audience out here. Thank you very much for the participation. In the first round of this discussion, I will just open this forum for an initial reaction of their own expertise. I'll start with you, Mr. Agrawal. What's your general view about the budget and its impact on the IT sector? Because it is an exponential growth that you have seen. Can you please, share your views about that?
Yeah, so I think, overall budget, while our honorable finance minister named it a growth budget, for me, it was a very, very resilient budget. I think, the Make in India, campaign, which we are kind of going on, right? I think it is now in full swing, right? In terms of supply chain, in terms of digital investments that we're trying to do, in terms of reaching the last mile, right? Our youth of the country. Specific impact, my comments on IT sector would be that I would say now India is kind of focusing on our generation in terms of skill development, right? We ourselves have kind of got into the tier 2, tier 3 sectors to kind of develop the consultants in tier 2 and tier 3, because I think we are kind of reaching a sense of saturation in metro cities. So I think the budget very much kind of gives a direction in that area in terms of the skill development program, which they're kind of investing in various cities. So overall, I would say very resilient budget. Right.
So, So the resilient is the word that you are using, because we want to be Atmanirbhar in so many sectors. So that's the real core focus of this budget. Professor Kathuria, if I can ask you, the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, while presenting the Amrit Kal budget, said that our vision for Amrit Kal includes a technology-driven and knowledge-based economy with strong public finance and robust financial sector. So going forward, how the technology can help actually India build a $5 trillion economy, because we are targeting $1 trillion economy from the digital India itself.
So first of all, the budget has laid the foundation for taking digital into the hinterland, right? By talking about digital public goods and digital public infrastructure in terms of agriculture. We've gone forth and built upon what we already have in terms of the Jam Trinity, in terms of UPI, and in terms of ONDC and other things that are already being done.
Yes.
So what this will enable is it will enable millions of countrymen and countrywomen to participate in the digital economy where they are, which means out in the villages, out in tier 2, tier 3 cities. where right now we are seeing green shoots of entrepreneurship
Yes.
happening. That will really come up in a big way once they're able to access the rest of the country. The digital market that gets opened through these infrastructures that are being put up, someone sitting in one corner of the country in a remote village will be able to sell goods and services to people in another part of the country.
So the digital public infrastructure that we have created, I think it's a unique Indian model because the IT system, both on the hardware side and the software side, are dominated by MNCs, to name a few like Google, Meta, and Microsoft kind of companies. But now India has a model where it is creating the public infrastructure, inviting private companies to join in, and then 2 billion people are joining that infrastructure, both in the payment side, on the Aadhaar side, now on the ONDC side. So it's going to really revolutionize the way that we interact with the rest of the economy. Now coming to the innovations, sir. What does this budget specifically, give the push for the innovation? Because that's the key where the Prime Minister and the FM is trying to push very hard to bring out the innovation or to push the innovations within our youth.
I've extracted 5 important things. One about the budget talks about the National Research Quad program.
Yes.
And where they are trying to bring the industries, governments, academia and startups together. That is what the quad is all about. To have a kind of a joint innovation program, and they have opened up the ICMR for academia to go and experiment and innovate. So such kind of a that is the first impetus they are trying to give to boost that entire innovation model. The second important area where I strongly see is what Sir was trying to talk about, the digital public infrastructure. It's not only powering up the agri-tech, but also powering the circular economy, manufacturing, and many other industry verticals are getting that boost. That is the second. The third important area where there is a huge amount of focus is given is opening up the center of excellences in AI. And you see the 5G that is coming up, and opening up 100 different labs in the engineering institutions, and also empowering them to solve and leverage the power of 5G to solve the industry applications or industry problems is also giving a lot of innovation boost. That is the third important space to look at. And also the 30 skill centers which they are trying to open up is also helping the people to empower them on the new modern technologies like artificial intelligence, coding skills, what ma'am was saying about it, and robotics area, mechatronics area. They are all equally important to solve some of the industry problems. The fifth very important area, which again ma'am was touching about, the national data governance framework. Now this is a data bank. Now many startups which are there today, they have a problem with the data, and opening up that particular data to make it available for experimentation in an anonymous manner, it's important. While that happens, I just wanted to caution that we need to make the safeguard measures so that no one de-anonymizes that particular data. That is important. While government takes care of that, that accessibility of that particular data will really boost the startups to take advantage of it, experiment on the different data models and come out with the innovative solutions. That is the fifth area where I see a lot of innovation can happen and boost new use cases to emerge to solve the much needed problems, which were not there earlier, but with these levers, you will be able to make a tremendous impact in the growth of economy.
Absolutely. Dr. Nagarajan, your view about the budget, looking at the fact that we are focusing so much on digital economy, and it is the technology which is at the center stage of the ease of living push or the ease of doing business push at the Prime Minister level. So where do you see going forward from here?
So being in a small business or an SME business, right? So the main area, and there's been a big push for startups, is the first realization that you can't really now, the youngsters need not have to look at the big companies for jobs. They should be now confident enough to go out and start their own companies. The required infrastructure to be able to do that, the budget is giving you a big push for it. Access to the finance, access to the data, so that when you develop some solutions, you should be able to validate access to the local infrastructure.
Yes.
So I think that is a big, and the most important thing I see is reducing the compliance requirements, making it easy for a small business to operate efficiently, because otherwise a small business has enough challenges to deal with by themselves, right? Compliance is another major issue that they have to worry about. So e-governance has gone a long way, and the push for e-governance, we have matured, and the governance, every budget is really pushing it to make it more and more efficient. and making it easy for startups to survive and thrive in this industry. So that's one big. And startup itself, the mindset of startup, we have completely changed the terrain. It's now cool to be in a startup.
Yeah.
And I think it's really great for youngsters that whether your startup is a success or not, that's really secondary. The whole experience of going and working in a startup and trying to do something new, that transforms that group of people who come together, and they will become, wherever they go after, if a startup is successful or even if not, it is success for the country. So that's how I see it, and I see the push that the budget consistently is doing year after year.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So if I were to summarize what is the first round has been, Vineet has said that it's a resilient budget which is focusing on the Atmanirbhar Bharat or the Make in India big push. The Professor Saab is saying that the digital public infrastructure that we have created is a fantastic job that the government is doing. And next is the innovation. The Chief Innovation Officer at TCS says that it is the focus on the innovation, and the academia coming together within the industry and the startup system will actually find solutions to the grand challenges that India is facing. And lastly, Mr. Nagarajan said that the MSME and the big push for the innovation, which this budget has given, is a great example of at least a great start for this Amrit Kal budget. Now coming to the specifics, I think within the IT sector by 2025-26 we are targeting $1 trillion economy, and that's the question I would like to put to the Professor Kathuria. We are going to have 6 to 6.4 crore jobs by 2025-26. So it's a given that it has a huge potential. But looking at the skill or the skill mission 4.0 that the budget has really announced, what can we really expect? Where should our youngsters look at the budget at the finer points? What are the areas that we are going to expand and find the employment in?
So this is a future-focused budget. I'd like to say, programming is the poetry of the 21st century. Mm-hmm. And we've had traditionally strengths in this area. What the budget has put forth is to take those strengths and roll them out and make it more accessible to more people. So more and more youngsters will be able to not just learn how to program, but also get access to learning in emerging technologies like IoT or artificial intelligence, machine learning. Now what that's going to enable us to do is you're training people for the jobs of the future. What we have today are jobs of today, and we're training people for jobs of today. But what the target is people who will join the workforce 5 years from now. We're trying to, the budget is saying that funds are being allocated to give them skills that they will need when they come into the market. And by that time, not only, you see today, the bulk of the jobs that you're talking about and the digital economy you're talking about, the bulk of it is our IT services sector.
Yeah.
But 5 years from now, we're also going to have a more robust IT product and startup ecosystem that by that time would be contributing not just in terms of jobs and valuations, but also in terms of profits and therefore value creation on a net scale.
Absolutely, and we should be proud of the fact that India is one of the 4 or 5 big countries who have its own end-to-end 5G and 4G stake that we are going to talk about, and very soon we'll be having India telecom stack. At the G20 summits we have been following, the DD network has been following the G20 summits. Wherever the officials are going, they are making fantastic presentations about the India stack. I think next is the telecom stake, and the budget is now talking about the agri stake. So now my question to you, sir, from TCS, that what we have achieved on the financial payment side during the COVID, can we really achieve on the agriculture side, and what's your view on the agriculture stake going forward?
I'll just take the lead from Professor's response in the first state.
Yeah.
You mentioned about the digital public infrastructure. That is the real engine which is pushing the agri-tech. Because agri-tech requires a lot of knowledge exchange and interoperability across the best practices what is available. Now, payments is one area, but important thing is about knowledge sharing across the different boundaries of the regions or the states what we carry. Mm-hmm. And that is only possible when you have the ecosystem enhanced ecosystem and extended ecosystem participate together. So with the Digital Innovation Startup Fund, what is provided as part of the budget, it is really pushing the agri-tech innovators to come out and leverage technologies to drive the change.
Yeah.
In the initial part of the story, you heard about drones were getting leveraged for using the fertilizers and other things.
Yes.
That is one piece. And in fact, when I visited one of the college, Vignan University in Guntur, that college, university had a 30-acre land which is distributed into the different zones, and they were teaching students on the agriculture to leverage technology to seed the things, right from the seed planting, how the technology can enhance the
Yes.
entire farming.
Yeah.
So that is one. Not only that, but they're also trying to look at the design thinking options to innovate. Once a product is out,
Yes.
what do you do with the product? You only take the product and sell into the market, or you try to bring in the different shapes, sizes, solutions which can allow you to do. Just take the tomatoes, where you say that I have the tomatoes, I will only sell in the market, but no. Today, innovators are looking at, can tomatoes be used as a tomato juices, tomato cubes, many things they are trying to look at. Instead of only looking at the option of selling in the market, look at the different avatars of using the same product, shape, size, and make a big change. That's where the innovation is kicking in. Power of design thinking, power of infrastructure, power of interoperability, making a lot of changes in the entire innovation mindset. And that's where I see agri-tech innovators, agri-tech startups will keep emerging and lead the way forward.
Right. When it coming to the finance, if we see our digital public infrastructure that we have created, almost 4 billion people in the world do not have their digital identity. There are 2 billion people in the world who do not have the bank account of their own. They're not linked at all. 133 out of 183 countries do not have their efficient payment system. But for all these big market to capture or benefit from, we need startups, or we need the enterprises and the funds for those enterprises. So where are the funds going to come from? Because you come from the finance background, and you can tell us what the budget is saying. Where are we going to get the funds from?
Yeah, so my view is that, in order for us to become a 5 trillion economy, one of the biggest focus areas has to be to convert our unorganized sector to organized sector. There is a very big portion of unorganized sector which does not get accounted anywhere. Now, with this enablement of the whole digitization of payments, right, I would say that kind of becomes a portion into our organized sector. The unorganized market slowly starts getting converted to organized market, and hence, I would say that is one of the key initiatives of the government to convert, I would say, the unorganized market to the organized sector by enabling the payments, right? Everybody might not have bank accounts, but I would say even a chai wala and a sabzi wala today is open to getting paid through Paytm, right? So I would say that's a very, very strong message from the government, as well as what they have done around DigiLocker in terms of PAN, that there's going to be one identity for everyone. So I would say we are in the right direction, but fingers crossed. Let's see, how India kind of takes it up, and whether we are able to adopt to this new change.
Or whether we will be able to attract the investment required for the startup sector. That was my central question. Do we have the ecosystem that will attract money?
Yeah, so I would say, just adding on to what Sir told, I think the ease of doing business in India probably needs more focus, right? So when we kind of deal with foreign investors also, one of the key concerns everybody has today is the corruption index that has not moved a lot in the last 5 to 10 years. Since the Modi government has started, the corruption index, if I'm not wrong, has just gone from 89 to 88. India is still there.
Okay.
So foreign investors still have that, I would say, doubt or little hesitation in investing in India. So while these kind of initiatives are okay, but I would say our overall legislation in terms of governance, monitoring, still has some way to go.
So you're saying that we need the reforms at the execution side.
Absolutely.
And like the economic reforms are not enough. you need administrative reforms, you need police reforms, you need judicial reforms to actually supplement them.
Just to add on that, like for example, we have e-courts, which they have kind of implemented.
Yeah, it's a huge impact. I think a contribution of 7,000 crore has been given for the e-courts, which I think we are not talking about.
But my view is that I think we still have a very long way to kind of streamline our legislative system. I am from the industry.
Right.
I deal with tax authorities every day.
Every day?
I mean, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of every day, right? Okay. So there's a long way to go.
Okay.
Right, there's so many levels.
So
of
that's the question I bring to Mr. Nagarajan. He's talking about the governance reform. You have seen the governance since last 20-25 years. You have seen the governance in India, in US. Are we really going into the right direction when it comes to governance reforms and ease of living? That the Prime Minister is saying that the ease of living, building infrastructure, digital transformation, digital economy is the core that we are looking forward.
Absolutely, we are going in the right direction. I have no doubt about that. So if you look at 20 years ago, 15 years ago, the number of contacts that we had to, each as a small business, we had to contact points to the government agencies,
right,
has come down absolutely to almost done online right now. Since we are talking about IT, we are also comfortable filling in, doing the online compliance requirements, filing the reports and everything. That's a lot more easy for startups to do that today. And but we had to go through incrementally. Like 10 years ago, though we had something, 14, 15 years ago, we had something online, they were not very efficient. But if you see in the last 3-4 years, and the kind of online systems that we have, the kind of portals that we have developed, very robust, very efficient, we are absolutely going in the right direction.
Perfect. So I think the success of Aadhaar or the JAM Trinity that we have seen the mission called Jan Dhan mission in 2014, and it was very surprising for us to actually see that mission rolled out. On 15th of August, Prime Minister gave a clarion call to open a bank account for at least one citizen in every family, and by December we did it. Yes. I think more than 90% of the bank accounts were open. That's and we actually understood what the mission mode is, and we are experiencing in so many sectors. Now I want to open up this session for the audience also, and anyone who have a question can please raise their hand, and if someone want to address the question. Meanwhile, my next round of discussion will be focusing on the tier 1 and tier 2 cities, because that's where from the growth is going to come from. So should I start with you, Professor? I want ISB to be in at least 4-5 states, not just in Hyderabad. I don't want to come to Hyderabad to learn management. I want an ISB kind of institute, maybe in Northeast, maybe in Bihar. Is it possible going forward?
Virtually, yes.
Oh, virtual, yeah.
That's the power of technology.
That's the power of technology. Very nice point.
The institute has already tied up, for example, with the state government here in Telangana.
Yeah.
And we're delivering education content virtually to students, high schools and colleges. And going forth, I believe that's something which this budget again has laid the groundwork for, but I'm sure going forward that's something the central government will want to do as well. That tap into all the talent that is there, not just in ISB, but in other institutions as well across the country. And then deliver a lot of this content virtually to all the corners of the country. Because there's some things that you can teach only in a classroom.
Yeah.
There's some things you learn by doing. Yes. But there are other aspects that can be delivered in a virtual mode. And the silver lining to what happened in terms of the pandemic is that we've become used to consuming certain types of content and learning digitally.
Yes.
Right? And so what that does is that a lot of this knowledge that was behind these walls of sorts, or was confined in Hyderabad, for example, is now going to be available open source, interoperable, open standard across the nation.
And budget is also talking about the National Digital Library.
Absolutely.
And I think it's going in the same direction. Sir, do you have a view on how this new world of digital economy, like the virtual avatar of metaverse we are talking about, can it be really used in health, in education, in other part, because 5G and other these kind of new emerging technologies that we are actually going to experiment with, how can we use them for ease of living as the government is focusing on in Amrit Kal?
So, one word which is generally defined for such kind of a technologies is deep tech. So today, deep tech, which encompasses like Web 3.0, gamified web development, blockchain, metaverse, IoT. The combination of 5, 6 such kind of a technology is really empowering the new change of use cases. And today, if we are trying to talk about metaverse, a lot of people are making non-fungible tokens as a means to generate money. And there are a lot of virtual stores are getting open, virtual real estates which are happening. In fact, companies like TCS, we are also investing in metaverse to build our own people on data center management solutions. So generally data center training takes a lot of expenses, but in the metaverse, we create the data center and create the use cases and coach them. How do you solve these problems in data center? So a lot of training and education happens on the metaverse. So I was trying to talk about the virtual way of teaching.
Yeah.
A lot of metaverse related virtual labs can be created where you can literally go and experiment on certain things, and it is really helping you to promote that entire thought of thinking and bridge that digital and physical ecosystem together. And I believe strongly going forward, you might be start seeing that virtual conference rooms where we 4 are sitting here, probably the 4 people from 4 different cities will come and sit here and do this panel. So it may be very near in the future where this particular virtual avatars will come and do the panel for you. And Ajay, you might be talking from Delhi rather than traveling to Hyderabad also.
Yeah.
So that kind of a change is bound to come, and with the Accelerator Innovation Fund for the deep tech startups, I believe these changes will happen very, very soon.
Mr. Nagarajan, yeah,
Just to
you want
add
to
to this point, right? So it's also, I see when he says deep tech, it's a huge opportunity for a lot of startups to get into this zone. And when you talked about healthcare and a lot of other areas, if a startup can find a solution and make it work here in India, it can work anywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? So that's the huge advantage we have for startups here. So I hope everybody realizes that, right?
And with the
if that problem can be solved in India, that means literally it will work flawlessly anywhere else.
Anywhere.
And
So
and
why
that's
are you
a-
saying that? Can you please qualify?
Come again?
Why are you saying so? Can you please
So
qualify? Yeah.
this is a huge opportunity, this entire area of deep tech and the push that the government policies and the intent in giving this push and access to the finance is to enable a lot of startups to come in and use this technology to solve problems in India.
Yeah.
But I see the benefit in the long term if it can be solved in India, and if startups do respond to this kind of a clarion call, right, it's going to be hugely beneficial to the rest of the world as well.
But to be realistic, do we have the bandwidth? Do we have the capacity to actually absorb these kind of new emerging technologies? Do we have the, or what are the challenges do we have? Or are we actually, yeah.
There are 3 challenges. Okay. One is you need to look at the talent first. Talent related challenges are there. There is a junior level talent, there is a senior level executive talent. Both have a different needs which need to be supported by the government. And some may say that this deep tech talent from Hyderabad are migrating to Bangalore. That is a fact as of now today. But we wanted to retain in Hyderabad. If that need to be done, then you need to ensure that there are certain things are built. It could be related to the aged parents you need to manage, your infrastructure need to be managed, or your weekend spots need to be managed. Not much of a weekend spots are available. We did a round table recently in T-Hub, where we invited 30 different deep tech startups and also academia to understand what kind of a problem is there and how we need to retain. And this is done with the support of Federation of Telangana Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Intent is to discover the problems to retain. The talent is one. The second challenge is about the compute capabilities. What you said is right. It means we need to have a scale of compute to ensure that you are able to do that deep tech startups really work. And that requires a bandwidth. Now, with the 5G rollout, this is quite possible. And as we are trying to speak about 5G, there are cities or countries already working on 6G. I was working with the University of Olu, and they are already having a 6G test bed and they are trying to roll out. In my capacity, I work with companies like Elisa, Telia, who are operating from the European geography. They are already rolling out 6G. So while these things are happening, the bandwidth is never a situational problem. It's all about new use cases which need to be emerged. So talent, compute, And the new use cases emerging which are there, you need to have the startup funds which to promote. And that's where I say that digital innovation startup fund, which budget is trying to offer, can really address these challenges going forward.
Okay. Gaurav, your experience with the tier 2 and tier 3 cities in terms of HR, in terms of expansion, how has it been? And where do you see, going the innovation or the level of skills in these, tier 2 and tier 3 cities from here?
Yeah, so my view, first-hand experience is that people from tier 1 cities today look for quality of life.
Yeah.
Right, whereas tier 2 and tier 3 are more hungry, right, more open, more adaptable. They're willing to learn, they're ready to invest time. So I think the real source of our growth in future in India has to come from tier 2 and tier 3. I'm kind of convinced, right? And that's primarily because they're easy to manage. The attrition is far lower. They're more committed, they're more loyal, right? Whereas people in metro are kind of highly paid, right? The cost base is kind of going higher and higher for all companies. The more they have space in metro, right? So they're kind of going to non-metro also to reduce their cost base. So I think overall from a HR administrative cost base perspective, in every perspective, right? I would say the growth story for India hinges on tier 2 and tier 3 and willingness of companies to go that extra mile and invest in tier 2 and tier 3.
Gaurav, just one thing to add. What was the success behind your company's growth of, up to a level of 50x in just 8 years? Because why these 8 years have, what are the opportunities, what are the factors that led you grow so much in these last 8 years?
Yeah, so I think our company, right, has a people-first culture.
Okay.
Right, so I think every decision that is made in our company by our managing director and our group focuses on people first, right? So I think if I have to just put it in one statement, it is people first, right? So when you put people ahead of everything, right, people start earning and delivering.
That's very generic. I think every a small shopkeeper will also say, I'm people centric. I give my stuff to people. How can you please qualify? Because a lot of viewers from the startup community are watching this program, and they might benefit from the experiences of the enterprise like you.
So when I say people, if I have to kind of go the next level to duplicate yourself at a leadership level. So the job that maybe I was doing when we were 90 people, I don't do that today.
Okay.
So that did not happen inorganically. It had to kind of take days. Every day you have to work with your people to duplicate yourself, right? And earn their trust, ensure you give them a great growth path, ensure you give them a safe and secure working environment. And when the time like COVID comes, you don't lay them off, right? So I think that is one statement that kind of be made to them, that we are not going to lay you off no matter what, right? So I think these are small bits and pieces where you give them a safe and secure environment over a consistent period of time, right? I know it still sounds very generic, but that's the story. You have to do it every day, every moment, and you have to make them feel like one family.
I have a question. So yeah, I am going to open this question. Yeah, Shubhendu, please ask your question. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so especially interesting was the point about making the IT industry people-centric. How conscious are we about the issues of data and security? Because in many instances we see, a major cross-section of the population who embrace technology or apps or platforms without fully understanding the implications of it. One fine day we hear that a certain database is hacked. So the degree to which I as an individual am able to control my data, I'm not even aware of the ways in which my data could be mismanaged. So for those of us, the leaders especially who are presenting such platforms, how conscious are we of protecting the data and also informing people the manner in which they personally should also play responsibly as far as engaging with digital and 21st century technology platforms are concerned? Thank you.
Thank you, Shubhendu, for the question. I think this question was being discussed at the G20 panel in Lucknow when the top 20 leaders were discussing the cybersecurity challenges, and they're trying to work out on a common framework for G20 countries to actually fight the menace of cybersecurity. But who would like to take this question from Professor Gautam? I think all of you can discuss this very important, the pressing challenge of cybersecurity, because everyone seems confronting, be it a nation, be it at the individual level, like Shubhendu is saying. So I'll start with you, Professor.
Well, so here I'm going to go back to the notion of digital goods, digital public goods, and digital public infrastructure. While we think about digital public infrastructure as being something that enables connects different parts of the market, one other important thing that it does is it makes sure that our private data does not get centralized in the hands of an individual organization and instead resides in secure vaults with the government.
Yes.
Right? So what that means is you will not hear in the news that this specific company with whom I was perhaps banking or with whom perhaps I was doing some business has had a cybersecurity attack and the data has been lost. Because as we build out these this public digital infrastructure, what that will ensure is that this information does not reside at the organization level, it resides at the infrastructure level. Think about, just let me go into specifics, think about UPI, right? Your bank account details, all that information, what will they hack? They're not going to be able to come in and get that information out of your phone. They're not going to be able to come in and get that information out of the street vendor to whom you made a payment. They're not going to be able to get that information out of even your bank. Right? That information is secure to the extent that information is secure behind the firewalls installed by the central agency that protects this information. So that's one big thing. The rest is, there are valid points that you have raised, but I'll let the rest of the panel talk about the rest.
So Bala, what do you think as an enterprise, because you are dealing with a huge quantum of IT products and data also, and how to go about the security, or we should be just be relaxed about that everything is secure and we don't need to do anything?
No, you cannot assume so. There are three things which you need to focus. One is security. Security demands that you create a layers of defense at every level, right from the app layer to the infrastructure layer. You create a lot of layers of defense so that you do not get into a situation where the security breach happens.
Okay.
That is one. The second area is about the privacy. So you try to follow certain best practices associated to the encryption techniques at a different level. The data at the rest, data on the wire, data during the processing. You ensure that the encryption techniques are taken care so that it's not easy for anyone to again manipulate with the data or try to mask some of the important information. Third, any data which is shared on a personal front, you want to ensure that you get a consensus.
Yeah.
The consensus is very, very critical and important. That need to be digitally signed by the employee or digitally signed by the stakeholder who is having the ownership of that particular data before you do it. These are the three important things. Apart from that, there is also something related to document classification, data classification, what we do. And based on the classification, whether it is confidential or public or private, that is a way you try to distribute and make it available for the consumption. And if something is confidential, you don't want to put it in the public store.
Yeah.
So these are few important practices which every organization follow. While doing so, there is also security is everybody's concern. And we normally educate everyone at the employee level about what kind of measures you need to take as a security, right from the password protection, frequent change of the passwords, the application sharing, screen sharing and screen locking. All these levels of education is offered to the employees so that they don't get into a situation where something gets compromised without their attention.
Right. Mr. Nagarajan, a nation can, invest in cybersecurity. That's the question.
Sure.
You may add. You may like to add to him.
Maybe I'll address the elephant in the room, right? So basically, when we are developing this kind of infrastructure and public data, we are going to make sure that it is secure. So a lot of rules and policies will be put in place to make sure the data is secure. But it is nothing unique to India. Like even the developed countries are facing this problem of data security. It's not unique to us. So we need to get used to that idea, right? So and education, as he pointed out, so making people aware, make sure you know what data that you are giving out, how you are giving out, and having that kind of an antenna that can this data be misused at any point. So that awareness has to be taught, educated, and it has to be communicated on a consistent basis. And finally, a breach, if it happens, has to be dealt professionally in a transparent way, and remedies must be put in place swiftly, and we should have policies to take care of such kind of breach if it happens. Definitely that has to be in place.
I think that's very good thing that the kind of public digital infrastructure that we have created is there is no monopoly of a company, like Professor said. It is a public infrastructure, and government has really invested into the security part of it also. A big company can also invest, like TCS can also make investment for the cyber security. What about MSME? Because that's the backbone of my economy. So I want to understand from you how the MSME can protect themselves from the threat of this cyber security.
Awareness, because MSME security, in terms of we as a small business have enough other challenges to just survive. So security is not really the top, but it is nevertheless, it will be there as part of the process, making sure what data you are sharing and how you are sharing it, to whom you are sharing, and whether that data can be misused in any way. So it is about awareness, but it is, as an MSME, I can tell you from my personal experience, it is not something that I top of my worries. I have other worries top. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to pay salaries to my employees, and how am I going to get new business? So there are a lot of other things that are from my personal experience that are of higher importance. So we rely on the infrastructure, the policies that the government are, so we are going to piggyback on that to ensure that our data is secure.
Do you have questions from audience? Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Yeah. See, basically just want to add to the conversation and also have a question for Professor actually. Again, thanks for the colleagues who are giving info on the security, the cyber security question that Subhendu has asked. Summing up what Professor has told and Bala has told and also Krishna, the kind of technology intervention that is getting in right now is blockchain to answer all the questions that you basically asked, and to sum up what all the three speakers have spoken. Many countries started implementing, and again, really the second question that you asked to Krishna, saying how MSMEs can take that. Basically, it is predominantly getting into a kind of a service-oriented model. You can take the service and pay for that. So blockchain is a solution. Predominantly, world is moving towards on the cyber security. Sir, Professor, sir, my question to you is, it's like, as a father, I'm asking this, and not only that, the 5 trillion kind of a target that as a country we have taken. It's like if you look at my son, basically attempted this engineering exam where he competed with 14 lakh people. Eventually, the kind of the so-called meritorious seats are about 10,000. Of course, he could crack it, and he was in IIIT. But my question is predominantly on those people who missed it out. It's like Vyaya krute vardate eva nityam. When you spend it, you grow it more. From the budget policy, I heard Bala also mentioned about AI. Minister, also respected minister, also mentioned about AI centers of excellence, etc. But do you really think that we are in a position to extrapolate the kind of infrastructure that we carry, likes of IITs, IIITs, ISB, the pioneering institutions? How can that be available to those students who got the merit? For example, if you take an example of Kaivalya Vora, who is identified as the youngest, richest person who kind of invented Jepto, there is talent available. Like, how can we take that education standards to that level so that Make in India is possible, because more brains are coming in, and the 5 trillion is also possible. Where are we lagging is my question to you, Professor, because you've seen this world enough, and I want to know your comments on that.
That's a grand challenge you've put in front of me, right? It's a very big problem that you've described. But let me try to break this down a little. Okay? First of all, do we have enough educational institutions? I would wager and say yes. Right? On paper, at least, we have a lot of educational institutions. We have a lot of seats. But what we also hear a lot is that not everybody who goes through some of these institutions gets adequate skills and is employable. So what you need to do is, A, on one hand, you've got to increase the seats somehow, and B, you've got to increase the quality of education that's imparted across the wide variety of institutions that are in the country, right? For the first part, I go back to what I had said earlier, which is that perhaps rather than investing only in physical infrastructure, what we need to do, and what the budget also talks about, is invest in virtual infrastructure to deliver education virtually. But that does not preclude, or that does not mean that students will be able to go through an education completely virtually. So they must still have access. So I'm talking about ideas like hybrid programs, which is where really how we'll be able to cater to this huge demand that we're looking at in terms of education. Provide a lot of education online, provide some of it physically. Now you come to the aspect of quality of education. How does that improve? That improves by doing skill training for faculty. That improves by enabling and encouraging research, both the production as well as dissemination of knowledge within the country. One thing to keep in mind is a lot of what does research do? Research allows us to create knowledge. And when we do research that is focused in India, that is contextualized in India, we create knowledge that is unique to our country and to the challenges and the complexities and diversity of our country, right? And therefore, that knowledge is eminently more applicable here rather than importing theories from abroad. So that's what we really need to do. We need to encourage and nurture institutions to enable them to do more research and then disseminate this research out into second, third tier, and fourth tiers, tertiary, secondary institutions, and other kinds of institutions all across the nation. That's really how you're going to lift the tide, right? The tide has to lift for individual boats to rise.
Do you have some more questions from the audience? If we have, or okay, please identify yourself, sir.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Myself, Gayatri Prasad from Bharat Railway Limited.
Yeah.
My question is on a common man's perspective.
Please put your mic little.
Yeah, my question more of a common man's perspective. First of all, I would like to congratulate the IT industry for the contribution made by the industry to the economy for the last over 20 years. Now, the industry is at the crossroads. There are several technologies that is coming up, be it big data or artificial intelligence or IoT. Many technologies are coming. On the other hand, the world is going into a recession. So as I understand, the IT industry is basically a supporting industry. It is not a main industry, or it only supports the main industry. So if the main industry goes into the recession, how it is going to survive? How the investments are going to come up for the IT industry, and what kind of support it requires from the government? Because it has made a lot of contribution to the economy, and going forward also there are promising technologies. But the only thing is, at this juncture, some support is required from the government to ensure that the industry survives, so that it will continue to contribute for the next decade. This is what my question to them.
So who would like to?
So if I understand your question right, you say that IT industry means countries are undergoing the recession. There is a lot of layoffs which are happening.
The impact of recession on IT industry and the technologies going forward, how it is going to shape up.
Understood. I'll take a start.
Yeah, please.
So first of all, fact is we need to absorb the fact that recession is there, but recession is temporary. We normally get in any kind of a growth of the industry, certain turbulence is coming in, and recession year hit is again a small turbulence which we need to live for some temporary period. But this temporary period, whatever is getting, we just need to utilize the government budget policies, accelerator funds, which will really promote and incentivize startup economy, IT economy, and all the public infrastructure which is offered through the government channels to leverage. I agree with the fact that this turbulence will be there for some time, 6 months or 9 months, but again we'll kick into the growth path. During this particular turbulence period, utilize that particular opportunity to improve your skills, leverage that upskilling programs or cross-skilling programs, experiment on the future innovations, experiment on the future research programs, which will really unlock new use cases for the future. At this moment of time, every enterprise is looking at what are the new use cases which will unlock and make the change. We are focusing on reducing the total cost of ownership, trying to do more work with less, trying to leverage the automation, trying to build the digital core and digitalization, which will really help to enhance our functions better, and try to minimize the cost for our customers, and also focus on the sustainability initiatives, which is trying to look at reducing the carbon footprint and other things that also brings down the cost levels. So different areas of investments which are going on still to ensure that the forward-looking cost can be controlled and new age skills can be improved to impart the things. Turbulence is temporary. We just need to live with it for some time. After that, everything is normal.
Okay. So we have come to the close of this session. Final comments, Mr. Nagarajan, going forward. How do you summarize, how do you look this budget as far as the IT sector is concerned, and are you really satisfied with the provisions?
So if I'm, short answer is yes.
Please.
I'm satisfied. But if you really look at it, IT is a robust industry right now. There is nothing like the IT industry per se is, government is going to dole out anything specific to the IT industry. I think that era is over.
Yes.
Right. So right now, the budget, the way I see it, is developing the ecosystem to support the IT industry and let it grow 10 times, which will happen from my perspective.
Vineet, your views, your final views about, using digital economy for Amritkal. Sorry, Gaurav Agrawal.
Yeah, okay,
I'm very
I started
sorry.
talking.
With them.
Yeah, so I think, overall, as I just mentioned, it's a very resilient budget. But from my perspective, I think, the government could do more for startup, right? As I was just talking before we met was ESOPs, right? Just give an example. The tax incentives on ESOP maybe could improve, because no longer ESOPs is just not a incentivization scheme, it is a tool for startups to grow today. So I think maybe a heightened focus on startups starting next year.
Okay.
But I think IT industry is secure for sure. Yeah, so that's my final take.
I thank you all the panelists. Thank you Dr. Krishna Nagarajan, CEO, South IT, for speaking to us and putting your perspective on innovation, especially MSME and e-governance. Thank you very much. Mr. Balaprasad Yadagiri, Chief Innovation Officer, TCS. Thanks for your industry perspective, both on the innovation side as well as on the skilling side. That's very important. Professor Abhishek Kathuria, IT and Information Systems, ISP, thank you very much for the wonderful insight that you have put forward. And Gaurav Agrawal, CFO, Entity Data Business Solutions, thank you very much. And thank you all the audience that encouraged us for this session. Thank you very much.
मन की बात है, जन जन की, संघर्षों